All right, so we're going to start where during the space race, the Eagle has landed. July 20th, 1969, Apollo 11 becomes the first manned mission to land on the moon after a 4-day journey. So we will beat the Soviets out because we have a major victory. We are able to put the first man on the moon. So that's one small step for man and a giant step, one giant leap for mankind. After the success of the Apollo program, Americans tired of the space race. We had clearly beaten the Soviets, and Americans were now distracted by more down-to-earth matters, such as the Vietnam War, civil rights, and Watergate. Duterte and Nixon visits China. Nixon looks to improve relations with both communist China and the Soviet Union. So we're in the 1970s. In 1972, Nixon became the first U.S. president to visit China, hoping to exploit a rift between the Chinese and Russians and gain influence. The Soviets respond also by welcoming Nixon to Moscow just 3 months later. In 1972, a SALT agreement is going to be reached where the U.S. and Soviets agreed to limit the number and type of intercontinental ballistic missiles held by each nation, which led to a dramatically improved relationship with the Soviet Union because now we're decreasing the amount of nuclear warheads that we have. The Soviets do decide to invade. Sorry about that. The Soviets decide to invade Afghanistan. We respond and we help try to push the Soviets out, but we also don't go to we boycott the 1980 Olympic Games because it was held in Moscow. So we boycott that by saying, you know, this is wrong. You shouldn't do this. And so Detente is going to completely fail. And Detente was us trying to ease tension between the Soviets and the Americans. Reagan decides to abandon all efforts of Detente and negotiation with the Soviets, declaring them an evil empire, and set out to win the Cold War by forcing the Soviets to deplete their economy through military spending. So that meant that we spent a lot on military, and in return they would spend a lot on military. But Reagan knew that we could outspend them. So that's what he did. He's going to do a huge military buildup. He even is going to provide funding to Afghanistan, and we actually, this is where we actually train Osama bin Laden. So Osama bin Laden did get trained by us in the beginning because we did help Afghanistan. So it's kind of ironic that now we're at war with the Taliban in Afghanistan. In 1988, the Soviets withdrew after losing nearly 15,000 men. So we are going to get them to withdraw out of Afghanistan. Gorbachev takes over 1931, the president. He becomes the new leader the Soviets in 1985. He believed that economic and political reform was necessary to the survival of the USSR and pursued an arms reduction agreement with the U.S. because he just couldn't keep up with the spending. They are going to sign an agreement with Reagan in 1987 to reduce the number of nuclear weapons, leading to a new Detente. Also in 1989, and I told y'all this, I was living in Germany when the wall came down because my parents are military. East German guards opened the gates in the Berlin Wall, removing the barrier between East and West. Within days, the wall was completely dismantled by the people, like they was ripping the wall down. They were so happy to have that wall down because now they can see their relatives on the other side that they had not seen for years since that wall was put up. And this wall was seen as like the physical Iron Curtain. The next year, East and West Germany reunited into one country for the first time since 1945. So imagine not seeing your relatives since 1945. Communism is finally going to collapse because of funding. In 1989, the old communist bloc collapsed as communist regimes fell one after another. In late 1991, the Soviet Union itself collapsed after an attempted coup by communist hardliners failed to unseat Gorbachev, and the Communist Party was banned in Russia. The Cold War was finally over. And Russia is going to disband, and its satellite countries such as Czech Republic, Poland, Ukraine, Romania, they are going to have their own free elections. And that is going to be the end of communism.